Downtown Asheville's topless rally on August 21st is still catching people's attention almost 2 months later. The protest was conducted by activists that support gender equality and were protesting due to laws restricting women from going topless. They claimed the laws to be unfair, believing that as long as men can go topless, women should have the same constitutional right, or men should be forced to hide their chests as well. The protest could not have been prevented, says Police Department spokesman Wally Welch. Welch stated that North Carolina's law about indecent exposure only bans private parts below the waist from being exposed. The gathering was ultimately a freedom of speech right.
This is Adam Bradley here, and he is going to speak with us about the topless rally currently going on downtown. So Adam, why are you here today?
I believe that women should have the same rights as men.
And how do you believe so?
I believe that women should go topless if men can go topless.
Alright.
Several banks across the country have plans to start charging customers when they use their debit cards. This idea has begun to cause an uproar in the mountains. Some debit card customers plan on changing to non-profit institutions that do not charge debit fees. Others simply say that they will start writing more checks to avoid these fees. SunTrust, Wells Fargo, and Bank of America are planning on making these changes, and some discouraged bank customers are considering closing their accounts and keeping their money at their own home. Warren Wilson Economic College professor Susan Kosk said that it would be a bad economic decision for banks to make it tougher for consumers to spend money. She stated that it would be like a tax on spending, but only the bank benefits.
This is Aaron and Sam here, and they're going to tell us about how they feel about the idea of debit card companies charging you every time you use your debit card.
I feel kind of ripped off every time I use a debit card. It makes me feel awful.
No U.S. troops were killed in Iraq last month, so why aren't we celebrating? With so much attention and so many billions of our tax dollars shifting from Iraq to the devastating war in Afghanistan, it's too easy to forget that there are still almost 50,000 U.S. troops occupying Iraq. We're still paying almost $50 billion just this year for the Iraq war, and while we don't hear about it very often, too many Iraqis are still being killed. Oh, excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Do you have any concerns about the money that is going towards this war in Iraq?
Yeah, I do have concerns. You know, war, I mean, in general, war is not a good thing, but then at the same time, I think sometimes it's essential that we have to fight, and especially when it comes to fighting for our freedom. But as far as the money's concerned, I do think we have to seriously consider, you know, how much we're spending and the value we're getting out of the money, especially when there's so much problems with our economy. So, yeah, I do have concerns, but again, not that what we're doing is not worthwhile, but we just seriously have to consider how much we're spending.
Oh, all right. Recently, on October 3rd, the Supreme Court heard arguments in a case over California's attempt to cut Medicaid payment rates. In considering this case, justices were not focused on the question of whether state officials were entitled to address California's budget crisis by lowering payments to Medicaid providers, but instead they considered whether the providers of Medicaid receivers were entitled to sue over the move. There is no question that federal authorities can enforce the law and that states that fail to comply with their obligations face the loss of federal money. After 9 years in jail for selling drugs, David Scott Blackwell was pardoned by the state of Georgia in 1993. He later moved to Tennessee, where the state no longer accepts his pardon and refuses to grant him the right to own a gun. We have David Blackwell with us. So David, what did you do with your life after jail?
Well, after I got out of jail, I was just ready to get my life started again, so I went to college for a degree in nursing, so I became a nurse, and then I spent a couple more years in Georgia, and then I decided to move to Tennessee. So I was at Tennessee and I was living with my family, and you know, one day I decided that I want to go hunting with my son. So I went to go get a gun so that we could go deer hunting together. And I went to the gun place and they wouldn't let me get one, and the state of Tennessee would not allow me to get a gun. They didn't accept my pardon from Georgia, so I couldn't get a gun and I couldn't go hunting with my son, and my son was devastated, and it was a bad situation, and I have not given up the fight since. I continue to fight against the state of Tennessee. I just want to hunt with my son. I don't see why that's a bad thing. I know I had a drug problem back when I was 19, but I have aged in years since then, and I just don't understand how the state of Tennessee can let me be a nurse and be around drugs all day long, but they won't let me have a gun to go hunting with my son. And I will continue to fight against the state of Tennessee until I get what I want, but I'm not going to move out of the state. I'm a citizen there, and they can't make me move because of something that happened when I was 19 years old.
I see. Well, thank you, David, for joining us.
Oh, you are welcome. You are welcome.
You can't tell me what to do with my gun. Second Amendment.
Several banks across the country have started to charge customers when they use their debit cards.
Payments to medical. Oh man. So, David, what did you do with your life after jail?
Oh, well, after I got out of jail. Well, after I had my time in jail, I got out and I was just ready to start my life again. Stop it, cousin! Stop it!
Hey, Morris.
Okay. I think it's the stash that's throwing you off. It makes it hurt to laugh.
Okay. Okay, I can't look at you. Okay, ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Okay.
They claim the laws to be unfair, believing that as long as men can go topless.
Yeah, I became a nurse, and then, get out of here! No, get out!